Hey, Sonia.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Today I'm not going to do a video.
No worries. Is it that kind of day?
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
So
Same
I'm just
here.
going to listen to you. Wasn't it about lending today?
So yeah, we're gonna dive. So I took some of the information that you had over the last couple of days, and I researched it. So yeah, I want to talk numbers. I want to talk lending, finance, things like that. So
Okay.
we're gonna dive deep into that stuff.
Did
And
you
I
see
had a
the
chance.
email?
What's that?
Did you see my did you see my email with the revised information?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that as well. I got to send Jimmy a link. I watched your video. You guys are big Star Wars fans. I love it. It makes me super happy. And I definitely want to waiting on Mandalorian season 2. Bring Baby Yoda.
Oh
back.
yes, for sure.
All right, I gotta get Jimmy a quick link. How's is it flooded in, you live in Bay Park, right?
Yes. The bottom of the hill is flooded. We're on top of the hill, so we're good.
It's pretty nuts here in PB as well.
But we have a roof leak, so we're not very happy.
No.
It's been going on for a while now. Like we had them out, they fixed it. Then like we have 2 skylights. And first one of the skylights leaked, they fixed it. Then the other skylight leaked. And now the original one is leaking again.
Goodness.
So you're not happy.
I can imagine. I'm sorry about that.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm sending
Happy
Jimmy
Friday.
the link right now. All right. Z, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm cold. I don't like it.
It's a little chilly outside. Our office is quite cold.
Not gonna lie, this is I was telling Brian this morning, I didn't move back to San Diego for a week of rain.
Right?
I know it's not San
Nope.
Diego's fault, and this is bullshit. I'm not like, I didn't even pack jackets. Like all of my cold stuff is back in Bakersfield. It's
Right?
not
Especially right now, we need the sun.
I
not
know.
this.
Goodness, everybody was like, April, it's gonna get warm. Maybe that'll help with the virus thing. And then we get this. Fantastic. Fantastic. Mark, how are you doing, bud? You're on mute, bud.
Oops.
How are you?
Cold.
Dude, full
Wet.
real, huh? Not pumped.
I got a frickin' river running through my yard.
Yeah?
So yeah, they can go whitewater rafting.
That's awesome. You're on, what do you said you have like 2 acres?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's that you don't see that a lot in San Diego County. That's
It's a
Bakersfield.
lot of work though.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I got to go back out and weed whip. I weed whip the whole yard, and now that this rain, I got to probably do it again next week.
I was about to say, man, give it a couple of days when they start sprouting back up.
Oh, it's that yellow mustard weed, you know?
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
like kelp. It grows like 2 inches a day.
That's insane, man. What are you always drinking, dude? You've got the same like energy can.
Can you see that?
Celsius?
Yeah.
What is it?
Has vodka in it.
It's what? Yeah, right.
Does it have
after
vodka
this,
in
I
it?
will. It's 12. Yeah. No, this is this has like essential vitamins, and it's no high fructose corn syrup, no aspartame, no preservatives, no artificial colors, no sugar.
So nothing I want ever to be a part of.
Well, you know, I'll be honest, like this, I'll mix it up because I'll drink like sometimes like a bang a day.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes I go to bed and I'm like wired, but this gives you a good little pump, and then it kind of doesn't make you crash. So
I gotcha. I was doing pre-workout in the morning because it's kind of the same. It's like good sustained energy for like a good hour in the morning. I'm jittery and just like, but then it's pretty consistent without the massive drop.
yeah, this just used like green tea and ginger, guarana seed, blah blah blah. But it's a lot better for you. And I drink a lot of energy drinks, so it's probably
This is
not
what
good at
I'm
all.
drinking.
That's about as
that's
healthy
really
as it
good.
gets.
See, this is cola flavor, so it gives you that cola
Oh.
flavor. It's like Jolt
This
Cola
is
without the
Mexican
sugar.
cola. I needed this morning.
There's like, it's not even the same drink, the Mexican cola versus the regular stuff. I don't know what, it's not even close to the same.
This is the best thing for a hangover right here.
They sprinkle
Is
crack
that
in.
why you drink them every day?
No, I haven't had one forever.
What, a cola or a hangover?
Well,
Yeah.
I
It's
was
funny.
telling Kim, this COVID is just not agreeing with my liver. It's not good.
You know, yeah. I hear you on the Coke. See, the only time I really drink soda, and I crave soda and pizza when I'm hungover, but that's really the only
Yeah,
time.
I used to drink a lot of soda, but it's very seldom that I have a soda anymore. I don't even buy it anymore for my kids.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the call. Just so everybody knows, these are recorded and posted every week on the YouTube page. So if you miss anything or you want to recap anything, these are all available to view. I didn't know until recently that they're all zoomed up on my face, so that's cool. But today I want to talk about financing. So tactic 10 in Shift was about creative financing, and it goes into a lot of detail about 3 areas of creative financing. The first one is things that sellers can do. The second area is things that buyers can do. And the third is things that lenders can do. And so having Jimmy on the call, I think, is going to help clear up a lot of this and help guide us. There's some of these tactics that are really just not going to apply a ton in San Diego. But a big one, and if we can just kind of briefly go through the list and then talk numbers. When we talk about things that sellers can do, obviously seller contributions are big. And seller contributions are concessions. I do think we're going to start to see more of those as we start to consider a shift in market. Buyer's market, typically sellers are going to have to negotiate with a little bit more goodwill. Mark, are you seeing it? I mean, obviously we've got the standard seller concessions with the way of closing costs. Anything else that you're seeing out there that you guys are getting creative with?
I'm not seeing it yet because I haven't really had any offers, but like, I mean, the one that canceled, the guy canceled because of 14B for the inspections, but then he said his client would take the property if we lowered the price by 100,000.
Yeah, 100,000, no big deal.
Yeah, on a $700,000 home. But you know, I think that we're probably headed towards that area as well.
Yeah.
Depending on what's allowable in, the loan.
And just something to, I mean, we talk about this, guys, just to be prepared for it. I do want to make sure that I'm putting that out there. None of this stuff is really meant to say, hey, this is how it's going to be. This is set in stone. It's really meant to keep us ahead of some of the things that we can expect or some of the things that we think we're going to see. It's really just to make sure that we're in a position to be prepared for some of this stuff. So one thing that I did want to point out that I've been seeing on some of the forums that I'm a part of, I've seen 2 instances where a listing agent has reported that, right up to close of escrow, within days of close, a buyer has come back and said, hey, with the uncertainty in the market, I'm not confident in this deal. I'm going to back out unless you reduce the price. Okay, contingencies removed, buyer essentially willing to forego deposit and to make it work. In both instances, the seller reduced the price. I think one of them was like 25,000 and the other one was by 15,000. And so if you guys, that's something that I want to make sure that we can collaborate and talk about how we tackle those kind of things. Because I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that. We have very, very knowledgeable buyers here. It's an educated buyer pool. These folks know what they're doing. They're watching the news. They're keeping up to a degree on some of the stuff that we're seeing, and they're hearing the same noise that we are. So how do we now tackle some of that stuff? Sonia, do you have any input?
Nope.
Mark, what about you?
I guess run the comms and see what, like, will you look at it and see if it's justified or not, or if the buyer is just trying to, make it a deal.
Yeah.
I think buyers are going to definitely try, and they're going to use this as leverage against the sellers right now. I think it just depends. I mean, you got to break down the numbers, right? We always talk about numbers. Numbers don't lie. What's the holding cost for the seller? How motivated are they to move? Is this a contingency on something else? I mean, there's a lot of variables in each of the transactions we go through. So I think it's going to be case by case, but even 25,000, I just think that's absurd. I mean, you know, appraisals, even if our market drops, I don't think appraisals are going to be able to catch up in time until we have a little more of a pattern developed. But, you know, for this guy, my buyer, well, not my buyer, but the buyer on that sale, for him to say 100,000 was just completely absurd. I didn't even answer, you know, It's just ridiculous. But, you know, again, it just breaks down to the numbers of the seller. You know, does it work for them? Are they paying $5,000 a month? Will it sit on the market for another 5 months to make that 25,000? You know, what are they doing with the money? What's their why? Like, there's just a ton of different things.
There's a couple of thoughts that I had. You know, to me, a contract is a contract, and yet I'll be the first one to tell you everything is negotiable in that contract. And so if a buyer recognizes, you know, and they're willing to forfeit that deposit, you got to constantly be willing to play ball. One thing that I would keep an eye out for is if buyers are starting to request extensions on anything, whether it's you know, contingency removal, escrow periods, etc., consider an increased deposit. You know, make sure that the skin in the game from both parties is equal. Buyers have a tendency to say, well, I'm not going to remove contingencies because I'm not confident. Well, then let's pull the deal. You know, you have to be willing as a seller to quickly say, you know, we're going to pull it. We're not going to risk losing another potential buyer on market right now to drag our feet for a buyer that might not be serious. And the way that I always explain it to a buyer is just like that. Like, hey, seller has said you have 17 days to get your things in order, 21 days for finances to get in order. That's 21 days that this property is off market, not entertaining or not accepting other offers. They need skin in the game from you as well. Seller is at most risk in the first 3 weeks of escrow for the most part. Jimmy, I want to pick your brain if it's okay. Appraisers, as Mark alluded to, are going to be something that we need to keep an eye on. Have you seen anything yet? Rachel said that she had a couple come in low at about, I think she said about 3%, 2 to 3% of list price. What are you seeing?
Yeah, we've had a couple low ones come in, but I don't think that has to do with the virus. It's more lack of inventory because properties are getting bid up way over the asking, and then they're not appraising because they're just not, that value is not there. There's no comps to support the value that they go for. So we've had to deal with that a couple times. The first reaction is always that, you know, everyone wants to contest the appraisal, but the odds of that working are so low that I hesitate to even really go down that path because it's a lot of wasted energy usually. If you do have actual comps that were not used, that's the only way we can possibly, you know, get anything out of it. But even that's tough because the appraisers have access to the MLS. So unless they're just not paying attention, which most of them are pretty intelligent people, you know, they're not idiots. They can, you know, comps have been missed, but for the most part, they're looking at the same comps. And a lot of times a seller or a listing agent will have a comp in mind that they feel should have been used, but the appraiser didn't use it for whatever reason. So there's a lot of like that argument comes up, but you know, the two that we've had have not, we've been able to negotiate. The agents have been able to negotiate and kind of meet in the middle. One time on one of them, the buyers were so motivated, they just didn't care. They're like, fine, we'll just pay over. And it didn't really affect the financing. The MI was a little more expensive because they went from being at a 90% LTV, or no, 85 LTV to 90 LTV, because we based the loan on the appraised value or purchase price, whichever is lower. So their mortgage insurance was increased by, you know, 30, 40 bucks a month, but it doesn't change the rate at all. So if you put 20% down or if you put 5% down, you get the same interest rate. It's the mortgage insurance that gets, you know, gets affected.
A couple of things that it brings up in the book are seller-funded buy-downs. That's something that I have zero experience in. I've never done it. I don't see it a lot. Is that something that you guys are seeing at all, seller-funded buy-downs? I didn't think so.
They're legal, but I haven't seen them. Another thing is seller carrybacks. You can do those as well. The seller wants to hold a second.
Yep.
You can do that up to 95%.
Yep. So that's something
I haven't
do.
seen one ever really, but if they're allowed.
Yeah, I'm it's something that we can possibly consider, especially when we piggyback off the conversations. Jimmy, can you clarify when we start talking appraised value? There's going to have to be concessions there. Would a seller second be a viable option if the appraisal comes in low? Have the lender appraise at the appraised value and a seller come in with a second?
I mean, you could do that. I don't know that it would solve the problem because the financing is going to always be based on the appraised value.
Yeah. So for the lender, yeah. But I mean, to make sure that let's say you've got an appraisal that comes in 50,000 low, they drop the financed value, and buyer and seller agree on a seller second for 25,000 to make up the difference, to make up part of the difference.
Well, you're capped at the loan to value limit. So you can't go any higher than 95%, and it might even be lower on seller carrybacks.
Okay.
So that wouldn't really solve that problem.
Gotcha. What was another thing I looked at?
I always found it really important as a listing agent, though, to actually meet the appraiser there. For the most part, I've always had really good interactions with the appraiser, and I make a nice bound book of all the comparables that I use to price that property or to support the purchase price.
That's a great idea, because then you can have those conversations up front about the comps that you think should be used versus
And I bind it in a nice little folder. I use the RPR. I use the sliding scale. I say, look, here's receipts for all the brand new stainless steel appliances and the blah, blah, blah. And I was a little nervous on the one that fell out at 700 because the buyer's agent was saying, it's 680, dude, it's 680. And part of me was like, yeah, you're probably right. Let's see what the appraisal comes out. So I kind of set my seller up like, hey, if this doesn't appraise, this is what we can do. But then I went through and just meticulously pulled those comps out, put it in a book. It was a VA loan, and the appraisal came back at 705, which I guess they could do that in VA, right? Jimmy, appraise the actual property, not what the purchase price is.
Well, yeah, any appraiser can do that.
Because most just meet what the bank is lending to satisfy.
They try to hit that target on the purchase contract, but they'll go over sometimes.
Yeah. So I think because I did that, I actually got the value up to 705, which the buyer kind of missed out that opportunity, getting the property 5,000 under appraisal. And I think the VA rates were like 2,675 at that time when they dropped super low. I don't even know what are VAs now.
A little bit higher than that. I'd say low threes.
Low threes.
Yeah.
So this guy missed a huge opportunity.
You can get in the high twos if you pay a little bit, but 2.65 with no points is not there.
Yeah.
I would say I locked a VA jumbo at 3 1/8, and they were paying like a quarter point or 3/8 of a point. That was a couple days ago.
That's not too bad.
No, they're still great. They're just not in the two. They're not like
right.
One thinks they're at 2% or 0% or whatever, but they're still great.
Right.
Yeah. Let's transition a little bit. We'll talk about things that buyers can do, creative financing with buyers. And these are something that I think we need to be aware of and have conversations with early on with buyers. In the event that lending guidelines stay strict or even get stricter. Gift funding is a big one, and I'm sure we see a lot of that already. I've seen plenty of it in my career. That's not going to go away, but making sure that you have that conversation early on. Let's see, selling and refining existing assets. That's a tricky one, a conversation to have with a potential accountant or the lender. 401k, IRA transfer, asset mortgage. Nothing really. I mean, anything that you guys can think of right now when it comes to buyers overcoming financial issues that we're inevitably going to see? Yeah, right.
No, I think
Well, you touched on a lot of stuff right there. So do you want me to talk about like gift funds and 401k?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about, are you seeing any issues right now, especially with the tightening restrictions, any workarounds that you're starting to eyeball or look at that we can incorporate to tackle some of this?
Yeah, the main workaround, nothing's changed with gift funds. That's still on every program. You're allowed to use 100% of the down payment as gift funds. So I will say, and most people know this, but not everyone, that when you use gift funds, it's best, especially if you have a buyer who's talking about that, let them know immediately, do not have your dad write you a check right now. Like that just makes it so tough, because then we have to source that deposit, which means we have to look at the dad's bank statements, and no one likes that. It's super intrusive. People get really pissed off. But if they're going to use a gift, we have a form gift letter that we DocuSign and send out. The dad, mom, whoever, just fills it in with their phone, and then you don't wire the funds until close of escrow. And they wire straight from their account to escrow, and all we need to see is a receipt of the wire. So we don't have to see bank statements and all. So that's all I'll say about gift funds. They're great, but make sure they do it right, because it can get messy.
So when you say source, so does that, let's say they're putting 20% down and mom and dad's giving that down payment. Are you saying not to have that source deposit, the buyer source that deposit?
I think what he's saying is, Jimmy, to clarify, look at it almost like as a commingling. If the person giving the gift sends it directly to the borrower, then they have to source those funds. Is that right, Jimmy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it goes straight from the donor's account to escrow,
got it.
you have to see a lot less.
Got
You
it.
have to see
Okay.
a copy of the wire, and sometimes a transaction history showing that they had the money in there already. And
Jimmy,
that's
who can a gift come from?
any family member.
Perfect. Has to be immediate family, correct?
No.
Oh, it can be any?
Cousin, uncle, sometimes brother-in-law. It's pretty loosey-goosey.
Yeah. Another option that we
Wait, one more thing on that real quick, because I'm actually dealing with this right now. So as far as the down payment and qualifying for it, how do you qualify the borrower not knowing where that source is coming from, per se? Like, if they're depositing that straight into escrow, we're already through the transaction before that loan gets funded with that down payment, right? So how do you check to make sure those funds are available?
Well, it depends. Usually I just let them know that it's all hinged on the money coming from that source. So it's kind of on them. I can't always check it. Like, I'm not always going to ask for a bank statement from someone's parents. What we need for underwriting is a gift letter signed by the donor that shows how much they're gifting, where it's coming from, what account it's coming from, and when it's going.
Okay.
So a lot of times we don't see it.
So as us on the front line, and we know that gift is coming from mom and dad, is it probably good that we, because if I was a listing agent and I saw the borrower's source is coming from a third party and they don't send in POF with the offer, like I would be,
if they want proof of funds, if proof of funds would be the gift letter, and then you'd ask the parents for a transaction history, or the donor for a transaction history.
Just so we have it and we know, on the front line that, this is not going to break down 3 days before our close date.
Right.
Okay.
Carrying on a little bit, guys, another thing that non-occupant co-borrowers is another thing that I've got a decent amount of experience in. Is that something that you've dealt with in the past, Mark?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Non-occupant co-borrower.
Non-occupant co-borrower, no.
No. Sonia, have you dealt with any co-borrower issues with buyers?
You mean like mom and daughter buy together?
Yeah, dad, son, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues, but I haven't had, well, my most recent was domestic partner. That was not a problem. Like not married, but for gift funds, that was fine.
Okay. Jimmy, are there any new guidelines that we know about with non-occupant co-borrowers?
No.
Anybody can be a co-borrower, correct?
Yep.
So,
But they're qualified just the same as anyone else, so they have to go through the same exact process. So.
But it could literally be a colleague, guys. If you've got a borrower that's going to have a best friend help qualify, that's fine. But as Jimmy said, they have to go through the same process, similar to the primary. Cool. The third area of creative financing goes into a lot of detail about creative things lenders can do to finance a transaction. And Jimmy, I kind of want to give you the floor on this. It goes into a ton of detail about lender-funded buy-downs, adjusting amortization periods, adjusting interest rates, mortgage credit certificates, etc. Anything that you can lend to the conversation that we can look for to potentially get creative down the road if needed?
Well, creative financing right now is kind of not drying up, but changing. I mean, non-QM loans, jumbo financing is all kind of shut down at the moment. We always have the option of private money, which is also known as hard money. So it's expensive, but they'll do, if you have 25 to 30% down, they'll do pretty much anything you need. It's all case by case. It can't be too crazy, but if the loan to value is there, if the equity is there, they'll do what you need to do. And then it can also be on owner occupied or investment. They'll do bridge loans. They'll do. I just talked to the guy I work with who said they'll do an equity line if the loan to value is low enough. And that's private or hard money. So you don't have to have a job. Your credit can be terrible. You just have to have the equity. That's all they care about. Yeah. But like I said, it's expensive. So it's like 8 to 9%, and you're going to pay a couple of points. So most people balk at it, but it's really honestly the only option right now. Because like all the non-QM bank statement loans, all that stuff's gone right now. Hopefully it'll be back soon, but if you need something right now, you gotta have some equity.
Okay. Anything else you can tell us about stuff that you're seeing? Interest rates seems like they've come back down and chilled out from that initial little uptick that we had right after the Fed dropped rates.
Yeah, a little bit. So government's FHA VA is in the low 3s, high 2s for VA. Conventionals mid 3s, mid to upper 3s. But high balance conforming, anything over 510 is the rates are higher right now. Unless you were at 70% loan to value or lower, but Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are not really buying those right now. Mm-hmm. So that's reflecting in the pricing.
Sonia, any questions right now? I do want to dive into a little bit of a conversation that you and I had earlier, but before we move away from kind of lending and finance, anything you got?
Nope, all good.
Mark? Good. So Sonia, we talked, I think it was Wednesday, maybe Thursday, about market trends that we're seeing, and I told you I'd get a little bit of clarity. You had some amazing stats that you've been putting in front of us that I think are really telling. One thing that we looked at that I think is important to share with potential buyers and sellers relates to the San Diego market contrasting with the rest of the market across the country. And so obviously with unemployment, we had a massive uptick across the country. I don't have March stats yet. And from San Diego City's website, I do have for the month of March, unemployment was for the month of February, my apologies, February, unemployment rate was 3.2%. That's 0.6% lower than the national unemployment rate. Additionally, according to the SD County website as well, the San Diego median household income is $92,700, considerably higher, over 30% higher than the national median. And so, Sonia, I'd love to get your take, because you're diving into the numbers much like I am. I do think that we have some insulation from the rest of the country. What are these? And obviously, without the March unemployment, it's still speculative. But what are your thoughts based on some of those numbers?
I same as last time, basically. So I redone my stats because my big mistake was that I took actives and put active as a search versus just leaving it blank.
Yeah.
So my chart changed quite a bit, and I'm gonna see if I can share it.
You're starting to like the screen share, huh? Are you getting used to it?
It's so easy now.
Isn't it?
And in case you were wondering, this is my home screen. That's my wedding picture.
What is in the background?
That's Star Wars.
I love it.
It was, well, it's a weird picture, but then our photographer put in a Star Wars, the city, Cloud City. So yesterday or whenever the last time we talked, my graph had on the weekly, on the active, it was actually an increase. And I did a mistake by how I put the numbers. So now I see what I think you had, where the actives actually had a decrease. Pending was not necessarily like that bad. And then like the changes going up and down kind of, and on sold, what I realized or what I saw when I put the numbers, I was too close to the end of April 5th, what means a lot of agents, they don't mark their property sold until like a week later or something. So this number probably changed from yesterday already again. Like I put this number yesterday. So probably there are more people that actually mark their property sold in the MLS. So it didn't really affect us. I don't see, besides we have lower inventory, everything else is pretty the same.
Our numbers are a little bit different, but the story that I want to continue to monitor, and you can kind of see it here, you know, the number of listings taken compared to the number that are going pending, there's a pretty dramatic difference in pace. So inventory is still very low. The things that we really want to keep an eye on going forward, though, is for me, months of inventory, which right now is flat at 1.7, and it has been 1.7 for the entire year. For the first 3 months of the year, I should say. Definitely keep on track of that. Keep track of days on market, and then keep track of list price to sale price ratio. You know, if inventory continues to outpace dramatically the number that go pending, buyers are going to have more options, which are going to allow them to negotiate better deals, which means that list price sale price is going to go down, which means that the days on market could potentially end up going up. So those are things that I really want to start tracking over the next couple of weeks. I'll continue to relay those numbers. Sonia, if you see anything big hit, please feel free to let us know. Jimmy, anything else that we should be keeping an eye on?
Make sure that your buyers' jobs are secure, because we're going to verify it up till the last day and maybe even after we fund. So that's it. If they're furloughed or hours are affected or income's affected, it will definitely have an impact on whether or not they qualify. And there's no hiding it.
A deal's not done until it's done, guys. I learned that the hard way very early on in this industry. I mentally had my checks cashed, and then, you know, days before we're supposed to wrap up and I'm going shopping, deal falls out. So just remember, the deal isn't done until it's done.
I've been a millionaire 20 times already.
So, yeah,
I'm just picturing you with a bunch of shopping bags. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, right. You got to buy them now, damn it. You can't even bring your own damn bag in.
Right? They're charging you for them?
Well, so.
No, they're free.
Mine were free.
I just went this morning. The
Ralph
bags are free, but you can't bring. Oh, really?
You got to go to Vaughn's.
Yeah, because it's a law.
Yeah.
I think they're mandated, so they're trying to go through the red tape. But some people are giving one away, some people are not giving any away, and then some people never charged in the first place. The smaller businesses, mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
I just went to Barnes this morning, and
yeah,
you can't bring in your bags, and they will give you free bags.
I
Because
love
I'm like, I
that.
have a cart full of stuff. I'm like, I need your
Yeah.
bags. Like, so they don't
God
charge you.
forbid we pay 50 cents, right?
I know.
I know. Is it 50 cents now? I thought it was 5 cents or 10 cents.
No, they're 10 cents, but you got 5 bags,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Guys,
that's
one
a
last
lot.
thing before we break. There was some really, really interesting news that I heard today out of Austin, Texas. Have you guys checked the Facebook page yet?
Mm-hmm.
Austin, Texas,
Nope.
MLS has stopped sharing data with Zillow.
What?
Yeah, that's the reaction I was looking
Nice.
for. So that to me is massive. I'm not going to say that's a trend. That very well could be an anomaly and a one-off. And yet, and everybody knows, Keller Williams has a massive impact in Austin. Keller Williams as a company has tremendous market share in that area. And so it's not necessarily surprising. And yet, it does speak to, in my opinion, the influence that realtors could have on these decisions that the MLS and your local board is making. And so just like that, and we've kind of talked about this, as real estate professionals, we feed Zillow the information that they need to survive.
By choice, though.
Absolutely, by choice. If we cut that off overnight, Zillow's profit model is done. And then we get back to operating real estate like it was done 10, 15, 20 years ago. We prospect, we nurture relationships. The buying leads becomes more of a supplemental. For a lot of real estate agents, I know for a fact that is the go-to. They're going to buy business. And folks that I'm talking to now, their approach to weathering this storm is we're going to buy our way out of it. That to me is not the smart approach. And things like we saw this morning with the Austin MLS cutting off Zillow is proving that might not be viable anywhere in the near future. Any thoughts that you guys have on that, Mark?
It's kind of a touch and go because, agents support Zillow by paying for premier agent spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people that do it. I mean, people pay up to $1,200 a month for, quality leads. I have a guy that, gets 12 to 15 transactions out of Zillow, so it's worth it to him. So he's probably a supporter of it. He doesn't really care about people that aren't advertising on it. But it's our choice to syndicate our listings, with the seller to be able to broadcast, because they can choose not to do it. And we don't have to broadcast with any syndicated sites. However, we're going to lose a lot of exposure because a lot of people window shop on those kind of sites.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's our job to educate our clients on how Zillow actually works and the inconsistencies of the site. And, like Michael Winters showed us the slide, and I wish he shared that, because you might want to talk to him about this, but he had a slide, and I can't even explain it correctly, but because they listed a property, it changed the whole dynamic of the demographics around it. So it was just really weird how the numbers didn't match. And the more he changed it, the more it put everything off skew. So it was just very inconsistent, but he'll be able to elaborate more. But I mean, it's a tough call, I think, because there's a lot of exposure there.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to educate our clients to let them know what kind of, real education they're getting from it. And these numbers really aren't real.
Yeah, I love that, Mark, and thank you for sharing. It's always been for me a give and take, and I'll be the first one to tell you that Zillow had a brilliant business model where I started to really sour on their relationship with the real estate professional. The Zestimate was brilliant and yet extremely inaccurate, makes our job difficult. And even then, you couldn't really hate on them. They're providing a value that consumers wanted and that nobody else really offered without, with that kind of ease and that kind of time. Where things started to change, I think, is when they entered the real estate space and started actively petitioning against the impact of the real estate professional on the transaction. And now we're starting to see that, I think it's very important that we keep the consumer in mind. Ultimately, our goal is to take care of our clients. And I think everybody here would agree that a client is best served by having a solid real estate professional in their corner. The iBuyer programs and the electronic transactions, going through Zillow, I don't think is in the best interest of a buyer or seller. And that's where I think that relationship with the real estate professional started to fracture. Sonia, do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree on all of it, like how that's where the consumer goes. And when I talk to my clients in the beginning, I tell them, if you see something on Zillow and I didn't send it to you beforehand, there's probably a reason for it. It doesn't exist. It's went into escrow, whatever, like I educate them on how it's inaccurate. And then when I go on listings, I always bring the Zestimate from Zillow and the Zestimate from Redfin with me, because those two numbers are usually quite a bit apart, like 20, 30, 50 and more grand. And I'm like, so these are two sides that you probably looked at. And so I know what they're looking at, and I'm prepared to argue, like if they're like, oh, but Zillow says, and I didn't like the fact what you were saying, like when they were trying to take our job, meaning becoming iBuyers, but all those programs went away. And that's usually the greatest indication on how shitty the programs are, because like 10 years ago, we had all the 1% brokerages and they all died in the crash because their service sucked and nobody wanted to use them anymore. So the good people come through now out of this, all the iBuyer programs stop, and they're probably gonna come back. However, they're gonna probably readjust them and make sure that the margin is big enough and clients usually see it.
And the way to make those margins big enough is let's be clear, you've got to take it out of the seller. Seller proceeds have to diminish, whether it's, they've got to charge more in their service fee, or they've got to reduce the price of the purchase. There's the math doesn't work any other way. And so, like I said, for as much as, when Zillow started, it was a fantastic tool for the consumer, and it's since become, it's a profit-driven company, and there's nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, I think it's really been done at the expense now of the consumer and of the real estate professional. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I'm picturing a beautiful, ideal world where real estate professionals have the keys to the kingdom and are able to provide accurate information that clients appreciate and consume, and whether that's through direct MLS access, websites, IDX websites from real estate professionals, apps, whatever. But
I think the other, what we also see is like, Amazon was coming into the field too, and doing what was it? I don't even know what the program is called, but where you don't need us anymore. They put a device on your front door and they can enter. And now you become much more aware of, okay, it's your house, you let people in, and it's actually helping us to be, again, there for education, advising, protecting the seller. So I think it's a good thing for us, almost like it puts reality back into, what a house means to you. So
yeah. It speaks to the power that we've got as real estate professionals. For those of you that, and Sonia, Mark, Jimmy, Z, Dahlia, thank you so much for being a part of the call. We put a lot into this, guys, and we do it all, with our big why in mind, making sure that we're providing for ourselves and our family, as well as making sure that we're consistently bettering ourselves as professionals and providing a quality service to our clients. And that's something that, at least not right now, you can't get online. The value of the real estate professional, I think, is more paramount now than it has been. So I like seeing that, when cooler heads prevail, we're able to make some really cool strides. I'll keep you guys updated on what goes on in Austin, Texas, and see if that becomes a trend. But before we go, anything you guys need, any input, any questions?
No, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I have felt lately that our commissions are kind of under attack.
Yeah, for sure.
More so than before. Like I see a lot of 2% listings now. I saw some, not a lot, 1.5% listings. And I also have my referral coming in, my new listing coming up. wanted to do it for 4% because of this market. I think maybe we should cover that on how we could, you know, script and protect our commissions, because I think when this all starts crashing down and we're not out showing houses and we're not, you know, foot to concrete running around and stuff, I think we're going to get judged and we're going to get a kind of a target for that.
You know, I've got a quick one for that, and absolutely, I think that's something that we should dive into. If you've got a seller that is asking about cutting commissions, I would ask them if they know what the PEAD is, and if they're prepared for a potentially, you know, $100,000 COVID lawsuit in 6 months.
Yeah, I think also like right now, especially with like pictures, online presence, like having the virtual tour, having the Matterport, having the website, like all that is going to be way important. And then if you see the shitty condo next door with horrible pictures, like no,
Right.
you don't get, like, you cannot see that, you know, like I think
Right.
that's something I had somebody ask me about on a buyer side, if he has somebody, he would give him 50% back of his commission for 2 million. I'm like, I was like speechless. I'm like, 50%? Like, who's that agent? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
But,
that happens.
Yeah.
This referral, he's an agent in Utah, and he was referred to me, but he wanted 35% and for me to list it for 4% and give the buyers split 2 and 2. And he wanted the virtual stuff. And I said, look, I said, right now, I know there's a lot of deals on that, but for me to do this right, it could cost me over $1,000. You're getting 35%. Keller Williams getting 1%, and then you're paying me less to do all this.
Yeah.
And he's an agent. And he's an agent.
I've done deals like that, you know, and I'll be honest, if I send a buyer referral and I've located the property, I'm asking for 50%. All you've got to do is close the deal and not screw it up.
Right.
And so I see both sides of that. When I had an instance very similar to that come up, I had an agent ask for 30. I said, yeah, I'll do it, but marketing comes out of your end.
Right. And I did bring that up. See, he's the grandson of the deceased who's selling the property. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking, like, wow, you're taking 35% from your family, and then you're going to split up the proceeds and still get your cut.
Yeah.
I'm like, I see what your angle is here, buddy. But yeah, I put my foot down. I said, look, if you want me to just take cell phone pictures and market your property, and then you want to start at the top dollar and work our way down instead of pricing above ahead of the market, I said, this isn't San Diego right now, you know? So,
well, the Utah agent, he is in Utah. He's not in San Diego. Like, his market is completely different. He doesn't.
Completely.
Yeah.
I hate it when people outside of our even city think they know what it takes. Like, they don't know anything. So, and especially for an agent, he should listen to you.
Yeah, and he did. He respected my decision, and he's definitely going to go my route. But you know, they're what, $330,000 average price homes. And he's like, I don't do anything under 6%. Like, I list all my homes at a full 6%. He's like, if I see 2%, I don't even show my buyers. And I said, exactly what you just said.
So why would you do that?
You just said. Right. And I stopped him dead in his tracks, and he's like, all right, I see your point. He's like, I do like you fighting for the other person rather than fighting for yourself. And I said, I want to sell your property for the most amount of money and the least amount of stress. And I don't know if I can get a good buyer's agent in there at 2%.
Yeah, I have a new listing. It's coming next week. It's a baby, in case you have an investor or somebody. It's a 1-bedroom off Mission Gorge for $250.
Condo?
Yep. 250. I'm like, this is so small.
Yeah. What's the square footage on it?
Oh gosh, like 600, I think. I actually don't remember now. Good question.
What's the other home selling for? Like, comparables with upgrades and.
We're pricing it at market value. There's another one that's on the market for $279, which is the top floor, which is overpriced. Last sold was, I think, $249. So this one has upgraded. I'm gonna see it tomorrow. I saw pictures. So the bathroom is upgraded. It looks nice. The kitchen, I think, has original cabinets. It's a That's
So
a
it wouldn't
cute
be an
condo.
investor.
I don't know for an
Unless it-
investor or yeah, first time home buyer.
Or, you know, landlord. Cool.
Congratulations, Sonia. Congratulations, Mark. It sounds like we're all killing it. Thank you guys again for an awesome call. We're getting good
you.
conversation. I love the dialogue. I can't say thanks enough for your guys' contributions. We'll reconvene Monday. Mark, I'm absolutely going to get something about protecting commissions on there. Dahlia, thank you. I don't think we've had a chance to meet in person, but thank you so much for joining.
I'm with the San Diego Metro, Kelly Williams,
Okay, welcome. How'd you hear about the Zooms?
from Instagram.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Instagram's working. That's killer. We're happy to have you. We had you on mute kind of the whole time. I'm sorry. Did you have any input or anything any questions, anything you want to share?
No, thanks. I was really enjoying learning and hearing about everything.
We're happy to have you. We do it every day from 12 to 1. So if you want to jump in on Monday, what do we have going on Monday? I think Monday we're finishing up shift next week. We've also got the ADU class next Thursday that I'm really excited about. We had some folks request that. So we've got a developer that's going to put on a Zoom class with us covering ADUs. And then not this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday, Brian is going to go through his virtual listing presentation. I'm going to throw in some input and we'll be able to ask questions about that. And then absolutely, like I said, we'll throw in protecting commissions and some more virtual stuff to round out the calendar for the month. Cool.
Great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine, guys. Thank you all again. You guys have a good rest of Friday. Happy Easter weekend. Be safe. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Hi, Kim. Bye, guys. I'll see y'all soon.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.